The medical exchange. The sleek medical transport vessel decelerated as it approached Helios 7, the gleaming orbital medical station that housed the prestigious Galactic Medical Consortium. Dr. Maya Patel watched through the viewport as the enormous structure came into view, its multiple rings rotating slowly to generate artificial gravity, the silver surface reflecting the light of the nearby sun. "Prepare for docking procedures," Dr. Patel announced the ship's eye. "The consortium representatives await your arrival." Maya took a deep breath, straightening her Earth Medical Corps uniform. The silver and blue insignia of human medical achievement felt suddenly inadequate compared to the technological marvel she was about to enter. Earth had only been part of the Galactic Alliance for 15 years, and this exchange program was the first time a human physician had been invited to study at the consortium. Docking complete. Atmosphere equalization in progress. As the airlock cycled, Maya gathered her personal effects, including her old-fashioned medical bag, a gift from her grandfather when she graduated from medical school. Inside were basic diagnostic tools, some emergency medications, and a paper notebook. Her colleagues had laughed when she packed it, but Maya believed in being prepared. 20 years as a combat medic and trauma surgeon had taught her that technology wasn't always available when you needed it most. The airlock door slid open to reveal three beings waiting to greet her. The central figure, tall and reed-thin with pale blue skin and 4 arms, stepped forward. "Dr. Maya Patel of Earth, I presume. I am Administrator Xylox, Overseer of Educational Exchanges." The translator implanted behind Maya's ear rendered the chittering sounds into smooth English. "These are senior physicians Eka and Vorn." Eka, a reptilian saurian with iridescent scales, nodded curtly. Vorn, whose body appeared to be composed of a gelatinous substance contained within a transparent exoskeleton, pulsed in what Maya assumed was a greeting. "Thank you for the opportunity," Maya said, bowing slightly. "I'm eager to learn from the consortium's expertise." "Indeed," Administrator Xylox replied, mandibles clicking in what Maya had learned was amusement. "Though we understand there will be limitations to what your species can comprehend. The consortium has developed a simplified curriculum for your stay." Maya bit back a retort. She had expected condescension, but experiencing it firsthand stung nonetheless. "Your accommodation pod has been modified to support human biological requirements," Xylox continued as they moved through the station's gleaming corridors. "You will be given 1 solar cycle to acclimate before beginning observations." "I'd prefer to start immediately," Maya said. "I've studied xenophysiology extensively and received the standard neural acceleration treatments before departure." The 3 aliens exchanged glances that needed no translation. Surprise, perhaps skepticism. "As you wish," Eka spoke for the first time, voice like rough stones grinding together. "There is a multi-species surgical demonstration scheduled in the Central Theater in 2 hours. You may observe." "Thank you, Senior Physician." Maya's accommodation pod was sparse but functional. After stowing her belongings, she reviewed the station schematics and made her way to the Central Surgical Theater. The massive amphitheater could seat over 1,000 observers and featured holographic projectors that displayed magnified views of procedures. Already the theater was filling with medical professionals and students from dozens of species. Maya took a seat in the back row, conscious of the curious and occasionally dismissive glances cast her way. "You're the human, aren't you?" The question came from her right. A young Caladan, their tentacles rippling with blue bioluminescence indicating curiosity. "Dr. Maya Patel, Earth Medical Corps." "Trainee Milo," they responded. "Many here are curious about human medicine. We've heard it's very hands-on." Before Maya could respond, the lights dimmed and a holographic display activated above the surgical platform. Senior Physician Vorn floated forward, addressing the assembled audience. "Today's demonstration features advanced arterial reconstruction using molecular bonding in a draconian subject." Vorn's gelatinous body pulsed as they spoke. "The patient suffered vascular damage during deep space travel. Ordinarily, this would require complete limb replacement, but we will demonstrate the consortium's new cellular regeneration technique. The patient, a dragon-like being nearly 3 meters long, was already sedated on the surgical platform. A team of 6 physicians of various species surrounded it, each controlling different aspects of the intricate machinery that hovered above the patient. Maya watched, genuinely impressed, as the machinery deployed microscopic drones into the patient's circulatory system. The holographic display showed the drones identifying damaged blood vessels and reconstructing them molecule by molecule. It was extraordinary technology, capable of restoring function with minimal invasion. Yet, as the procedure continued, Maya found herself frowning slightly. The process was incredibly time-consuming. What might have taken an hour with conventional surgical techniques was stretching into its 3rd hour, with only 60% completion. Is something troubling you, human? Trainee Milo noticed her expression. Just wondering about the time investment, Maya replied quietly. On Earth, we might use synthetic grafts for rapid restoration of blood flow, then address cellular repair afterward. Milo's tentacles rippled with what might have been amusement. How? Quaint. But surely you understand the superiority of comprehensive molecular reconstruction. It eliminates the need for secondary procedures. At the cost of extended surgical time and resource expenditure, Maya countered. In mass casualty situations, the consortium rarely encounters such primitive challenges, Milo interrupted. Our preventative protocols have nearly eliminated unpredictable emergency scenarios. As if the universe itself had been listening and took offense at such hubris, the station suddenly shuddered violently. The lights flickered, and warning klaxons began to sound throughout the theater. All personnel, collision alert. Debris impact in sectors 7 through 12. Damage to primary power systems detected. Emergency protocols engage. The surgical team looked up in alarm as their equipment flickered and the microscopic drones inside the patient went dormant. The lead surgeon, a Veskarian with compound eyes that reflected panic, barked orders as monitors began to display warning signs. Stabilize the patient. Transfer to backup systems immediately. But the backup systems weren't responding either. The holographic displays faded completely as emergency lighting cast the theater in an eerie blue glow. Secondary power grid compromised, announced the station's eye. Medical systems operating at 18% capacity. Multiple casualties reported in damaged sectors. All medical personnel report to emergency stations. Chaos erupted in the theater. Students and observers rushed toward exits, while the surgical team argued over how to proceed without their technology. The patient on the table began showing signs of distress, its vital signs deteriorating as the partially repaired blood vessels failed without the support of the microscopic drones. Maya was already moving toward the surgical platform, medical bag in hand. She pushed through the crowd, reaching the patient just as alarms on the few functioning monitors began to sound urgently. "What are you doing?" demanded the lead surgeon. "This area is restricted to authorized personnel." "I'm a trauma surgeon," Maya replied, already examining the patient. "And right now, your patient is going into shock from internal bleeding." "Impossible." The molecular drones would have. The surgeon stopped, suddenly remembering that their vaunted technology was currently useless. Maya pulled basic instruments from her bag, a stethoscope, a hand scanner, and manual surgical tools. The drones shut down mid-repair, leaving the vessels fragile. The patient's movement during the station impact probably caused them to rupture. "We cannot proceed without the molecular reconstruction array," another surgeon protested. "The precision required is beyond manual capability." "Not for human hands, it isn't," Maya said, pulling on surgical gloves. "I need 10 kicks of Drexidol, or your closest coagulant, and someone to assist with retraction." The surgical team hesitated, looking to their lead for guidance. "This is absurd," the Veskarian surgeon chittered angrily. "A human cannot possibly." "Your patient will be dead in approximately 12 minutes, Maya interrupted. "Decide now." A new tremor shook the station, and more alarms blared. The station's AI announced, multiple critical casualties arriving at Central Medical. All capable medical personnel report for duty. The lead surgeon's compound eyes darted between the patient, the failing monitors, and Maya's determined face. Finally, they gestured to one of the team members. Assist the human. The rest of you, report to Central Medical as ordered. As the others hurried away, trainee Milo stepped forward. I'll assist as well. Maya nodded gratefully, immediately directing Milo to administer the coagulant while she prepared for manual vascular repair. Her hands moved with practiced precision, locating the damaged vessels by touch where human surgeons had worked before scanners existed. I need better light, she said, and Milo's tentacles immediately began to glow brighter, illuminating the surgical field. Ingenious adaptation, Maya commented with a quick smile, already suturing the first torn vessel with impossibly tiny stitches. How can you see what you're doing without magnification? Milo asked, genuinely curious. Years of practice, Maya replied, fingers never stopping their careful work. Before we had technology to assist, we had to develop the skills ourselves. For nearly an hour, Maya worked steadily, repairing damaged vessels one by one while explaining each step to the fascinated Caladan assistant. The lead surgeon returned briefly to check their progress, mandibles clicking in what might have been surprise at finding the patient stabilized. We need your expertise in Central Medical, they told Maya. The casualties, there are too many, and our systems are still offline. Maya finished securing the final suture before looking up. The patient needs monitoring, but the immediate danger has passed. What are we dealing with? 27 injured across 12 species. The asteroid fragment breached 3 residential sections before emergency force fields engage. I'll need to know the basic physiology of each species affected, Maya said, already packing her tools. That would require access to the medical database, which is currently unavailable. Yes, Maya finished. Then you'll have to tell me what you know as we work. Trainee Milo, can you stabilize this patient while we're gone? The young Caladan's tentacles rippled with determination. Yes, doctor. As Maya followed the lead surgeon through corridors filled with emergency lighting and injured personnel rushing in all directions, she heard the station AI announce. Estimated time to power restoration, 8 hours. Medical systems will remain at minimal capacity. She tightened her grip on her medical bag, remembering the battlefields where she'd learned to save lives with nothing but basic tools and determined hands. 8 hours without their precious technology might seem an eternity to the consortium physicians, but to Maya, it was just another day at work. Let's trade by immediate survival risk, not by species, she told the lead surgeon as they approached Central Medical. And I'll need all available hands, regardless of medical rank. For the first time, the Veskarian looked at her without condescension, compound eyes reflecting something that might have been respect. Very well, Dr. Patel. How would you like us to proceed? When technology fails, Central Medical was in chaos. The spacious facility, normally a paragon of order and efficiency, now resembled the field hospitals Maya had staffed during the resource wars on Earth. Injured beings of various species lay on beds and makeshift pallets. Medical staff rushed between them, clearly hampered by the loss of their diagnostic equipment and automated treatment systems. Status report, Maya demanded as she entered, addressing no one in particular. A Thalaxian physician with crystalline skin that reflected the emergency lights in fractured patterns stepped forward. Power systems are operating at minimal capacity. Life support and gravity control have priority. Automated diagnostic systems are offline. Treatment synthesizers are non-functional. And we have 29 casualties with varying degrees of injury. Maya nodded, already scanning the room and categorizing injuries by apparent severity. We need to triage immediately. Designate 3 treatment areas: critical, serious but stable, and walking wounded. Without full diagnostics, how can we properly categorize? Asked a flustered physician whose species Maya didn't recognize. The old-fashioned way, Maya replied, moving to the nearest patient, a draconian with a visible chest wound. Visual assessment, manual examination, and vital signs. She knelt beside the injured being, whose breathing was labored and skin had taken on a grayish hue. Her hands moved with practiced efficiency, examining the wound while her other hand pressed against the neck, feeling for the pulse point she knew existed in most vertebrate species. Tension pneumothorax, she diagnosed. Air is trapped in the chest cavity and compressing the lung. She reached into her medical bag and withdrew a long needle. I need someone familiar with draconian anatomy. Where is the safest intercostal space for needle decompression? The Vespasian lead surgeon stepped forward, between the third and fourth ventral plates, but Maya was already positioning the needle. Stabilized the patient's shoulder. With swift, confident movements, she inserted the needle between the indicated plates. A hiss of escaping air confirmed her diagnosis, and almost immediately, the draconian's breathing eased. "This is temporary," Maya explained, securing the needle with adhesive from her bag. "We'll need to insert a proper chest tube. Meanwhile, move them to the critical section and assign someone to monitor continuously." Without waiting for acknowledgement, Maya moved to the next patient, a Medusan whose gelatinous body was partially solidified. A shock response she recalled from her xenobiology studies. For the next hour, Maya worked tirelessly, examining patients, delegating tasks, and performing emergency procedures with minimal equipment. The consortium physicians initially hesitated, unaccustomed to working without their technology, but gradually adapted to Maya's methodical approach. Dr. Patel, called a young Arcturian physician whose 6 arms were currently stabilizing an injured Tholian. The patient's crystalline matrix is destabilizing. Without the resonance stabilizer, I don't know how to prevent cascading fractures. Maya hurried over, examining the Tholian whose body resembled a complex geometric structure of interlocking crystals, several of which were now showing spreading cracks. "Thermal stress," she muttered, recalling her studies. Tholians maintain internal crystalline integrity through precise temperature regulation. She looked around the room quickly. "I need insulating material and a controlled heat source." "The emergency supplies cabinet might have thermal blankets," suggested another physician. "Get them," Maya ordered, then turned to a nearby assistant. "Find something we can use as a heat source. A chemical reaction pack, emergency lighting unit, anything that produces consistent heat." While they rushed to comply, Maya carefully examined the spreading fractures. When the supplies arrived, she fashioned an improvised thermal cocoon, adjusting the heat source to create a stable temperature gradient around the Tholian's body. "Monitor the fracture lines," she instructed the Arcturian. "If they continue to spread, adjust the heat source 1/4 increment higher." "This is remarkably effective," the Arcturian commented, watching as the crack propagation slowed. "How did you know this would work without a molecular scanner?" "Basic physics," Maya replied. "Crystalline structures under stress will stabilize if you remove the stressor. For Tholians, that's temperature fluctuation." She was already moving toward her next patient. 3 hours into their ordeal, Maya had established a functioning emergency system despite the continued technology outage. Patients were organized by severity, treatment protocols established using available resources, and the consortium physicians were adapting to manual diagnostic techniques under her guidance. She was suturing a laceration on a young Kaladin, coincidentally from the same educational cohort as trainee Milo, when Administrator Xylox arrived at Central Medical. "Report status," demanded the administrator, mandibles clicking rapidly in distress. The Vespasian lead surgeon stepped forward. 29 casualties, Administrator. No fatalities. 17 stabilized, 8 under treatment, 4 awaiting assessment. There was a note of pride in the translator's rendering of the surgeon's chittering speech. Xylox's 4 eyes blinked in sequence. "How is this possible? Our systems are still non-functional." Dr. Patel implemented emergency protocols, the surgeon explained. "Manual triage, basic intervention techniques, and what did you call it, doctor?" Battlefield medicine, Maya supplied, tying off the final suture. When technology fails, you return to fundamentals. Xylox approached Maya, studying her with an intensity that made her slightly uncomfortable. You performed complex procedures without molecular guidance or neural assistance. There's nothing complex about saving lives when you understand the principles behind the procedures, Maya replied, cleaning her hands with antiseptic. Your physicians are highly skilled. They simply needed to remember that their technology enhances their abilities. It doesn't replace them. A commotion at the entrance to Central Medical interrupted their conversation. A medical transport team rushed in, carrying a stretcher bearing another Draconian. This one much younger than the surgical patient Maya had treated earlier. Juvenile Draconian, approximately 3 solar cycles, reported the transport leader. Found trapped in collapsed section. Unstable vital signs, unresponsive to stimuli. The medical team quickly transferred the young patient to an examination bed. Maya joined them, conducting a swift assessment. Neurological response diminished, respiration shallow and irregular, she noted. Possible cerebral trauma. Without the neural scanners, we cannot determine the extent of brain injury, said a frustrated physician. The molecular reconstructors would be able to identify and repair damaged tissue. But we don't need them, Maya interrupted. Draconian neurophysiology includes natural regenerative capabilities. We just need to remove the obstacle to that natural process. She gently palpated the young Draconian's skull, fingers searching for the telltale signs she'd learned about during her xenobiology studies. Here, she said, indicating a slight depression along the cranial ridge. Subdural hematoma causing pressure on the brain stem. We need to relieve the pressure to allow normal function to resume. The Vesperian surgeon clicked anxiously. That would require careful microscopic surgery to avoid damaging surrounding tissue. Not necessarily, Maya said, reaching for her medical bag. Sometimes the simplest solution is the most effective. She withdrew a small drill, a manual instrument that looked primitive compared to the consortium's equipment. Administrator Xylox stepped forward in alarm. You cannot possibly intend to use that archaic device on a pediatric patient. This archaic device has saved thousands of lives on battlefields across Earth, Maya responded calmly, already sterilizing the instrument. The procedure is called a burr hole, a small opening in the skull to relieve pressure. Draconians have thick cranial plates specifically evolved to protect their brain tissue. With precise placement, there's minimal risk. The room had grown silent, all attention focused on the confrontation between the human doctor and the administrator. I cannot authorize this, Xylox declared. The monitoring equipment still functioning beeped in alarm as the young Draconian's vital signs began to deteriorate. Then watch this patient die while waiting for your technology to save them, Maya said bluntly. Or trust that medicine existed before machines and can exist without them. The Vesperian surgeon stepped forward. Administrator, I will take responsibility. Dr. Petil saved our surgical patient using manual techniques when our systems failed. I believe she can save this one as well. Xylox's mandibles clicked rapidly as they processed this unprecedented situation. Finally, they stepped back. Proceed, but be warned that any negative outcome will be thoroughly reviewed. Maya nodded once, then turned her full attention to her patient. I need assistance. 2 sets of hands to stabilize the head, and someone familiar with Draconian neurovascular mapping. Several physicians stepped forward immediately. Under Maya's direction, they positioned the patient and prepared the surgical site. With steady hands that betrayed none of the pressure she felt, Maya created a small, precise opening in the young Draconian's cranial plate. Careful now, she murmured as dark fluid began to drain from the opening. Natural pressure will evacuate the hematoma. The minutes stretched as the medical team watched anxiously. Then, almost imperceptibly at first, the young Draconian's vital signs began to improve. Respiration deepened and became more regular. Neural responses strengthened. It's working, whispered one of the assisting physicians, monitoring pupillary response with a manual light source. By the time Maya had placed a sterile dressing over the small opening, the young patient was showing signs of regaining consciousness. The relief in the room was palpable, and Maya noticed several physicians exchanging looks that needed no translation. They were impressed, perhaps even a little awed. "The body knows how to heal itself," Maya said as she cleaned her instruments. "Our job is to remove the obstacles to that healing and support the process." 6 hours after the disaster began, the station's AI announced that primary systems were coming back online. Medical equipment began to function again, and the advanced technology that the consortium physicians depended on was once more available. Maya stepped back, watching as they returned to their familiar routines, now using molecular scanners to verify her manual diagnosis and automated systems to continue the treatments she had begun. To her surprise, many continued to use the manual techniques alongside their technology, integrating both approaches. Administrator Xylox approached as Maya was repacking her medical bag. "The consortium owes you a debt of gratitude, Dr. Patel," they said formally. "Your unconventional methods preserved lives that might otherwise have been lost." "Not unconventional," Maya corrected gently. "Fundamental. Your physicians are brilliant and your technology is remarkable, but today they remembered something important. Medicine begins with understanding the patient, not the machine." Xylox's mandibles clicked in what Maya now recognized as thoughtful consideration. "Perhaps there is more to learn from human medical practices than we anticipated. The exchange program was intended for you to learn from us, but it seems we have much to learn from you as well." Maya smiled. "The best exchanges go both ways."